What's going on, family? This is your boy King TY. Make sure you follow me on IG at KINGTWHY. So today this is a video with Jewish Rabbi, and he is commenting on the recent backlash of Dave Chappelle stand-up comedy and things that have been going on in the media with Kanye and Kyrie concerning anti-Semitism. This is an interview between Viral Hip Hop News and Rabbi Harry. All right, so let's get right into it.
Now, I'm not sure if you saw the monologue, but if you did, how did you feel about it? And do you express the same sentiments as Mr. Greenblatt?
No, I probably agree with him on almost nothing, but not to take away from him. I personally saw a little bit of it, and I think Dave Chappelle's hilarious. He's such a funny guy. If you look at like South Park, it's a comedy show made by Jews, but in it they use such derogatory Jew hate terms, dirty Jew, Jewish money. They threw out these words. The ADL never said anything to them, It's a bunch of Jewish guys who were writing it. They never said anything. All of a sudden, now you see Dave Chappelle come out. It was actually funny, and probably a lot of it was he was saying was true. So what's causing these guys to get so triggered? It's a good question. I think the main fear is putting Jewish safety at risk, because there's places now where Jews are getting attacked at random in America for being a Jew, punched in the face, their hats knocked off. And we're trying to prevent that. So we have so much trauma. It's like the analogy I gave before of the lady who used to get, hit by the husband. When she drops something, she's scared it's going to get hit. So now when she drops something, let's say the husband changed his ways, she's still going to flinch. She's still going to get very scared, because in her brain is the pattern that when you do X, Y will, Z, Y and Z will happen.
So now, family, my issue with what Rabbi Harry just said was that Jewish people getting their hats knocked off and being hurt in public causes so much trauma. But what about the trauma, the 400-year trauma of black people in America? But let's keep going.
The pattern that when you do X, Y will, Z, Y and Z will happen. So these people are like, and it is a little insensitive at the time, when the Jewish people are like, whoa, stop talking about us and mixing us with, other groups of evil people. We don't want to be mixed together with that. Then Dave Chappelle just come up right on there and start to like stoke the coals. It looks like they're pushing the divide and conquer strategy. It looks like there's an agenda that wants to create a separation between my community and your community. And for me, that's like the red flag. So I'm like smelling through all this nonsense. I'm like getting to the bottom of it. And I'm like, why don't they want us to talk and collaborate? Something's going on.
Do you think people within the ADL or in higher Hollywood, whatever the case may be, have a disdain towards black people? Because as I watched that, something that really stuck out to me was he said nigga twice on there, on SNL, on NBC, and they let that fly. People were losing their minds laughing. But when he made jokes about the Jewish community, everybody was up in arms. Everybody was upset. And we're all supposed to be leading a cause against hate. But it seems like it's a very specific, generalized part and section of hate that we need to generalize, and everything else is all right, fair game. What do you think about that?
Well, let me just put it. I have two things. One is, let's say I start dropping the N-word, right? Not okay. I don't have permission to do that. It's not allowed. It's not okay.
Neither should I, and I shouldn't have said it either. It shouldn't be accepted through anybody, but we know.
I disagree with Ant. You can for sure use the N-word freely. You can say nigga all day long. Nigga, because that was the only form of reparations that black people actually got, was the ability to express ourselves how we want in retaliation and reaction to our treatment here in this country. So I disagree with that. And I also disagree with the rabbi when he says that, black people can't call Jews penny pinchers. No, we sure can, because you guys profit and penny pinch off of black people in black America day in and day out.
Okay, I don't have permission to do that. It's not allowed. It's not okay.
Neither should I, and I shouldn't have said it either. It shouldn't be accepted through anybody, but we know how
Okay, I like that and I agree with that, but it happens to be today culturally from your community. It's allowed, it's there, and it's understood and it's accepted that this is a word that gets used. So, for example, sometimes I go to the airport, and I'm going through the security, And when you get to the security at the airport, there's a lot of pennies on the floor. So people emptying out their pockets. So I'm always like picking up pennies on the floor over there because I bring it to Jerusalem and I give charity. Every penny is a mitzvah. It's a commandment. You're doing a good deed with it. So I enjoy picking up the pennies. But when everyone looks at me, I'm always making a joke. Like, you always got the classic Jewish guy picking up pennies on the floor. And I'll make a joke about myself because you could do that because I'm Jewish. No one's going to get triggered by it. But if an African American guy was like, oh, you Jews picking up pennies, it's like, wait a minute, can you say that? So I think it goes both ways. I can't start saying N words, and other people can't start making Jewish penny jokes. Everyone can make, criticize their own selves or their own communities. But I think that's silly also. We shouldn't have an ego. My feelings shouldn't have to be hurt if you have something to say about us. But it's all fun and games until it becomes, physical violence towards Jews. Then it's like we're just so much trauma. We're not having any of it.
But the thing is, Jews are reacting as if they're black people dealing with all the violence and trauma that we deal with on a daily basis. They're telling our story. That's what we live. We look on the news every day and see our people in the news for murder and homicide. We see movies being made that have the slave narrative. We are experiencing police brutality. We are being economically disenfranchised. We are dealing with the trauma. So to say that Jewish people are experiencing so much pain and trauma by talking about things that need to be talked about, that's manipulation. That's what that is.
So I think the ADL is probably protecting a beast that the Jewish people communicate and miscommunicate as themselves. Like the Jewish people are like, oh, the ADL is here for me. ADL is not here for you, Jewish people. They're protecting something much bigger. They just, the name Jew is just covering both realities, the thing they're protecting and you simple folk who are just trying to make a living and stay humble.
I think it's a good segue to go into what Kanye was saying about hip hop and Jewish executives. In one particular comment, he talked about how, in black hip hop music, we could talk about kill this, nigga that. And it's pretty much there's no outrage, black on black. But as soon as somebody says something about the Jewish people, it seems like it's all hell breaks loose. But a lot of these execs we already established in hip hop are Jewish. How come they fund, the destruction of black people through the music? But as soon as somebody says something about Jewish people, it's all hell breaks loose. But when it's black people, it's like they fund that and they don't care.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, but it's such a complex thing.
There ain't shit complex about profit. Black people are used for profit. The question was, why are the Jewish executives okay with promoting violence through rappers, promoting death, murder through the rappers? But if somebody says even the slightest thing slick about Jewish people, it's a whole media uproar like we see with Kyrie Irving right now, Kanye West, etc., etc. Let's keep going and listening to the bullshit.
That's the thing, because no one should have the right to, the fact that they're promoting violence and drugs and then making that an avenue of like financial success. So now I'm a young African American kid and I want to get some money when I'm older. I got to start like training myself. If I want money, I got to rap about killing and drugs and be hardcore. So that's something that's being set by the Jewish people. But let me ask you a few questions just on this. Let's say like, and I'm not a professional. Like let's look at like Def Jam Records or like, some of these guys. Is there African American owned media that's still promoting, violence and drugs and gangster living outside of Jewish ownership? Is that exclusive only to Jews owning these companies, or there's also African American owned?
See, this is a very deceiving question because yes, there are indie artists and record labels, but they are adherents to the bigger labels because the bigger labels have an agenda, and the bigger labels will only sign people who fit into that agenda. So you can have all the independent owned, black owned record companies that you want, but in order to reach major influence like the big record labels can, you have to appease the system. Black people have to appease the system in order to get on.
What company does African Americans own?
I don't know. That's why I'm saying this question out of ignorance. I was asking you more.
It's usually a part. It's usually like a sometimes it's a partnership deal, but most of the time it's Jewish owned. They'll have like Def Jam, Rockefeller,
Records and all this. Is this Jewish guy at the top of it?
Say it again. I didn't hear that part. The first
Like
part.
Def Jam Records or NWO or whatever it is. These are Jewish owned things at the top of it.
Like Def Jam, for example. Sorry to cut you off. The current CEO of Def Jam, his name is Paul Rozenburg. He's been there since January 1st, 2018. The founders were Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons. So
maybe that question was out of ignorance. Maybe it wasn't. But that look on his face, that smile on his face says a lot.
Right. So I get what you're saying. Yeah, we do, participate in it as well. I get where you're trying to go with that as well. But it's still the underlying issue of the majority of these companies being ran by Jewish people that promote and fund this message. Can we agree with that?
Yeah, it seems very shady. It seems that there should be, these are, I don't know if these are people that have like rabbis that could even call them. These are like rabbi-less individuals. These are godless individuals. These aren't people that have God in their lives. So it's not like we can get all the rabbis together and like sit them down and have a sit down. Well, they're going to listen to the rabbi. They're not even listening to God. How they're going to listen to a rabbi? But I'm with you on the fact that there should be no Jew involved who are promoting drugs and violence in the African American community and creating a poisonic, toxic environment for you guys. I'm on your team. That's totally evil. But like I said, I think these Jews finding these roles are serving something darker and higher than themselves. I think the guys who are really at the top, you don't get to know their names because they pay for you not to know who they are, So the names that we're even given are the names that they let us get, So you're going to throw out like, Rockefeller and this name and that name. Those are the names they gave us access to. The names that we don't get access to is because they're the ones who are owning the wealth of the world, calling the shots with wars, and creating agendas to manipulate humanity. But where it stops and, separates me from these individuals is they give an allegiance to something that's not Jewish. These guys are all part of fraternities, whether it's Masonic or, their clubs from college, with their Greek symbols and their cults and their rituals. I know, I don't want to get too deep into it until the right time is, because this is like even dangerous for me to be talking about this type of stuff because we're up against a very dark force, But these are people who get paid by these entities, are loyal to these entities, and the Jewish people are just trying to unite the tribes, the lost tribes, and build a temple for all humanity and bring world peace. There's like two totally different realities. And I think if you looked at the last few hundred years of Europe, when these Jews started joining these fraternities and getting involved in the banks and the wealth and financing wars, they started taking on customs and traditions that had nothing to do with the Jewish people in the Torah. So there's just this divide going on, and the Jewish people aren't so aware of it. So part of my job is to explain it, and even part of the Jewish prophecies and our legends, we believe within the Jewish people there will be a dark side in the future that we're going to have to deal with. There is an agenda that doesn't want, like I said before, your community and my community building. That's the last thing they're going to want. They're going to want us to be divided, calling each other enemies, and do everything in their power to make sure a healthy conversation doesn't come out of what's going on.
So in my spirit, after really analyzing this video and watching it and really understanding the intentions and maybe, some of the thought processes of Rabbi Harry, I just need to see more of him. What is his intention? Is his intention to profit off of the black people by coming into an audience full of black people only to get subscribers from Viral Hip Hop News to then go over to Prince Harry, or not Prince Harry, but Rabbi Harry, and help him achieve his goals or whatever he has to do? Like, is that his main goal, or does he really believe in what he's saying? And that's my only thing going forward that I have with Rabbi Harry. But all in all, I feel like it was a good interview. It was a good conversation, and on both sides we made some good points. So make sure you like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below. Yeah, man, I'm going to keep bringing fire content like this because I'm broke and I'm trying to get my life right.